want some more sex and violence, with a helping of roller derby, outer space, and criminal trials, that means you miss Cinemax. Pick up my new book, Skinemax, a love letter to all things softcore in the 90s, over on Amazon, which is on ebook, paperback, and hardcover. I hope you enjoy.
Hello again. Welcome to another Fresh from the Theater review. I'm Jake.
And I'm Marlin.
A.K.A. Guy. And we just got out of seeing Lee Cronin's The Mummy. Lee Cronin, he's the guy who did Evil Dead Rise a few years ago. And I remember really, I remember enjoying that film. Had a few bumps, but overall it was a good, worthy entry in the Evil Dead movie franchise. And I didn't even really know this was coming out until maybe a month ago. And I just saw The Mummy, but then I looked and I saw that it's apparently not connected in any way to the previous Universal Mummy movies. In fact, it's not even from Universal, it's from Warner Brothers. And so I just saw Lee Cronin's The Mummy and also read the brief synopsis that they put out for the movies, and it didn't seem like it had anything at all to do with the classic Mummy story. But I was like, okay, my curiosity's piqued, and I like to get out to at least one of these fresh thoughts reviews once a month, so I figured this could be a good one. And it's been a while since we did a movie theater review together.
Yeah, it's been a while.
The last one was Avatar: Fire and Ash, which we really got into.
We got into that one, yes.
And this one, just my quick honest opinion, I really fucking like this movie. This is the best movie I've seen in the theater so far this year that didn't come off like a mixed bag to me. And yeah, I really dug it. What did you think?
In many ways it was well done. In many ways it was really well done. I think the director, it was very atmospheric for one thing. There's a lot of words. It's spooky. It's a sci-fi, not sci-fi, but
fantasy.
It's a fantasy horror. There's blood, but it isn't so much slasher as just grotesque. And so all of that kind of stuff going with it. They played it well. This is not Brendan Fraser territory.
No,
This is
not an action movie. This is, I'm not even sure you call this on par with the Boris Karloff Mummy. It is gruesome, but
yes, it is.
I would say I wrote down some pre-viewing questions. Mm-hmm. First one being, is it scary, suspenseful? And yeah, I do think this actually had some legit scary moments. It had, as you said, great atmosphere, and it had a bit of a mystery element going to it. They kept me interested to the very end, and the brief summarization of the plot is this family that's living in Egypt at the beginning. The dad, he's a reporter, and the mom, I think she's like a nurse or a doctor, and they got 2 kids. They have a third one on the way, and then all of a sudden their oldest daughter disappears, and 8 years later she suddenly resurfaces in Egypt, and there's something really off about her. And from there, it's a mix of finding out what's going on, them trying to help, and also just being horrified. And it has the element of the broken family struggling to stay together.
Yeah, the imagery of the now found daughter 8 years later, that image was something they did that very well with a young actress, very young actress, and whoever did the makeup on her to make her look like she was as an 8 years later herself. It was like I say, it was morbid, it was grotesque, and the activities and the result and there was action within the movie. It just got tougher and tougher to watch. It was really something. However, it did have a plot that was developing throughout this whole thing. Kept you on edge, surprises along the way about what happened to who and why and what did happen and so on and so forth. So if you like horror, you're going to love this. If you're like me, who isn't really into horror, I can appreciate the shoot for it. It was I think well directed for what it is supposed to be. And you're going to love it if you love horror.
I think the special effects were pretty good, and the big thing that stood out to me was just how a lot of it was practical. As I said, the makeup job for the daughter was genuinely hard to look at times. They did a good job, and the gore effects, which as I said, aren't continuous, but they do happen gradually as the film goes on. They are pretty unsettling to watch, particularly this one part, I won't say when and how, involving a leg. They'll just make you be like, eee.
Yeah, it's grotesque.
And another aspect that I always love to praise with horror films, if it's done well, is the music. I thought the music was extremely effective here, and it was like it made you jump, and there were a few jump scares, but they were well executed jump scares. Usually sometimes with the camera slowly turning to reveal something that maybe we weren't expecting to be there, but then it shows up. And I guess a good word to describe many of the scenes in this is you feel with the characters trapped in this horrible situation, and like there's no escape.
Yeah. Yes, it was like, what's going to happen? How is this going to, you're sitting in the movie and say, well, where are they going to take an ending with this thing? It was awful. And they did, the people who suffered from a lot of the
there is a lot of suffering in this.
Yes, like the grandmother that was praying over her all the time, just got a target because, this is a being that's not going to be taking Christian prayers and
No.
and lying down. So.
And another thing is the visual style, because this film goes across Mexico, parts of the U.S., and majority, Egypt. And while it does have kind of a murky look, I feel like the setting for all of them was handled very well, and definitely gave you the feeling of you being there in these specific areas. Another big question is, do I actually care about any of the characters? And yes, I do. This is an easy family to feel sympathetic for, and each character, even the kids, had their own unique personalities, their own ways of handling, like how they were going through the situation, and you were really with it all the way. And all the actors, I think, did pretty good jobs. Jack Rayner, who plays the dad, I know him best from Midsommar, from the second film by Ari Aster, and he was good in that movie. He's really good here. It's a little crazy to think that he's playing, like his oldest kids appear to be like in their late teens. It's crazy to think that he's playing a dad of like a late high schooler and young adult, because this actor, he's like only 3 years older than me. Leia Costa plays the mom. Yeah, she's the one like going through she's the one who's like going through the most pain emotionally, and
I think they did a good job in playing off and presenting the way the male, the dad, and the difference is the way the mom and female, how they were reacting to the pain that was done, and how they handled it in their own different ways. That was very effective.
There was a scene where they're in conflict with each other in the middle of the film that I felt maybe was a little forced, but at the same time it showed the different ways they're going through it. And again, they didn't stay at like going at each other's throats throughout. Eventually they all came to being on the same page. And the other two actors who I think are worth mentioning are one, May Conway, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who plays this Egyptian detective who's been working the missing case for all these years. She's a pretty standout character, and she's some of the things they do with her is surprising. Like, this is the kind of character who's only in it briefly most of the time and then maybe dies halfway through, and I won't spoil what happens, but she is in a majority of the film and she does play a pretty big, important part.
Yes, there's a lot of professionalism and some courage.
Yeah, a lot of courage and a lot of heart, and she stayed with it. But of course, the person who I think needs the most shout out is Emily Mitchell and Natalie Grace, particularly Natalie Grace, who play Katie, the daughter who goes missing. Like, Natalie Grace, she's the one who had to be in the makeup all the time, and this was like Linda Blair levels of performance, like as far as being a young actress going through all that makeup and having to do a lot of physicality. Like, she put her all into it, I feel.
Yeah, there's no two ways about it. She was very effective, well directed, I would think. She brought it.
And Emily Mitchell, even though she's not in it as much, her scenes as the young version of Katie, particularly in a part that happens later in the film, were really powerful performance.
Yes. Sometimes you feel as though the roles for the younger actors, they don't really find somebody who can act, and it's okay, they're just kids. These people brought it.
Yeah, all the young actors did well. The kid playing the son, first he seems like he might be the douchey brother, but he's got his own layers, and the the little girl playing the youngest daughter, she was given her moments, and there's one scene where they have this kid who's apparently supposed to only be 8 just scream out, "Rat face cunt," and it is both a little unsettling but also kind of funny, and it's moments like that along with the vomiting moments that lets you know this was definitely made by somebody who works on the Evil Dead franchise.
There's a lot of bodily fluids in this film. Like I said, grotesque.
Yeah, it's very Sam Raimi-esque, so don't go into this if you have a weak stomach. I went into this with a full bucket of popcorn and some candy, and miraculously I came out of it feeling all right. And
Well, you're a movie warrior.
and here's something interesting that's just worth noting. I did my hardest to avoid any type of spoilers. I didn't watch the trailer until literally a few hours before we went to see the movie, but I did spot something on Twitter, like, in the news feed that's on the side, that said Lee Cronin, and apparently, according to Lee Cronin, and this is just Twitter, so maybe it's from a bullshit source, but he apparently said this movie takes place in the same universe as the Evil Dead movies. Which, hard to know. I mean, I know the Evil Dead movies pretty well, and after seeing the film, maybe I could. There's nothing in here that's a direct connection or reference, but I could maybe buy that. Maybe if they had a few more callbacks, but I do definitely see the similarities. All say about the ending, because he doesn't like us to get into spoilers when we do these fresh thoughts. All I'll say about the ending, like, this is a gruesome film. It is filled with a bunch of heartbreak and depressing moments, but you won't I personally think you won't come out of this movie feeling unsatisfied.
You're probably right. And as far as the ending goes, it's a
rep.
It gives you some hope that one of the people who you think really deserves some of the pain, a lot of the pain, looks as though they're going to be in that position
there is one character in this who is so evil and doesn't never acts like they are evil that it'll just make you like scrape your hair out in frustration. And so yeah, it's a very satisfying movie. I think it's a good horror film. Any cons there were very brief, or they were resolved. There was literally nothing left open by the end. And there is one con I have, and it's not even really with the plot itself, but it is worth noting. Why the fuck is this called The Mummy?
Because they could. I don't know. See, you know.
I mean, there is a mummy in it, but...
Probably just to surprise the hell out of you, because you're, you know.
But it's only in the film for like, if you count all the scenes it has throughout, it probably amounts to less than 2 minutes. And I'm like, yes, there's a mummy, but calling it The Mummy, and they've been explicitly titling it Lee Cronin's The Mummy in all advertising, so no one thinks it's like another remake. But calling it The Mummy, it's gonna automatically make people think it is connected.
Yeah, sure.
And this feels more like, as Lee Cronin said again, he feels it's more in line with Evil Dead. It really is. Like, this is more of a demon possession movie than it is a mummy movie.
No, absolutely. It's a spiritual fantasy, you know, like you say, demons and the evilness of the demons.
Maybe call it Curse of the Mummy. I think that would have been more accurate or something.
Eh.
But nonetheless, I love this film. I can say there was nothing in it that held me back, nothing in it that made me feel disappointed, and this was a nice surprise. I totally recommend checking it out, and it seems like the non-horror fan here thinks it's worth going if you're into this type of story.
Yeah, it would. I am not a horror fan. There was a lot of things well done in this production.
And that's good enough. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you again. I don't know when you'll be back, hopefully soon, and hope you enjoyed our review. If you've seen it and you know the ending, maybe leave a comment down below, and till then, later.